There's a lot of question marks going into the 2024 season for the Arizona Cardinals. One thing that is in a question, the Arizona Cardinals offense is going to rip. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner _ follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner _ again. Please go to the YouTube channel, it's just Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. Following continues to rise. I'm humbled. Just hit over 600,000 all-time views on YouTube. Humbled. Thanks for being, the best part of my day. I've been working in sports radio since 2011. Pivoted to podcast only in, a couple years ago. But I've been hosting this podcast since 2017. So going into my 8th season, I could not be happier with where I'm at. And thank you so much for being a part of it. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sport stops sporting, not like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So camp is in full swing. If you've been on social media, news outlets, whatever, you're seeing clips. It's great. I did a show last Friday just saying, be excited, be fans. That's great. Okay. This is going to be one of the more exciting seasons that we've seen in, the history of the organization. And, pretty much since the better part of a decade. 2021, could kind of see the writing on the wall there. At least I could. So I'm not really comparing it to that because sustainability is the name of the game. And this roster as built seems to be one that will be sustainable for the next handful, large chunk of seasons in the NFL. So the Cardinals offense, it's not going to be a question mark going into 2024. They're ready to rip. Okay, I'll discuss that. What are the realistic expectations for the defense? Like realistically, what are we going to see? Not what do we need to see? What do we hope to see? What will we see as pertaining to the Arizona Cardinals defense? And then this one's for me. You believe in Kyler and changing yet? It's very difficult to argue the opposite at this point. We'll discuss it all in today's episode of Locked On Cardinals. Listen, watching videos from camp, it's great. It's great. My expectations are tapered because we haven't seen anything on an NFL field yet from a lot of players in a lot of key positions. And while we've seen Michael Wilson and seen Greg Dortch, we haven't seen them in the role and prominence that we expect to see in some sort of capacity, at least a big jump up from last season with expectations. Zay Jones, is he going to come in as the bona fide wide receiver too? I said when he was a free agent, the Cardinals should 100% go out and get him. He's a consummate pro. He's played all the snaps in the NFL. I haven't done the numbers. I'll bet he's played more snaps. Oh, yeah. More snaps than every single other wide receiver on the NFL, on the Arizona Cardinals combined. Maybe save Zach Pascal, but he's got reps, and he and Kyler Murray seem to be hitting it off swimmingly, glowingly. And then you've got Trey McBride. This is the year where he's going to jump into the top 5 tight end conversation, and you've got James Conner and Trey Benson in the backfield. Kyler Murray calling the plays with the best offensive line he's had since coming into the NFL. So when I say it knows no bounds, this is what I mean. It doesn't mean, Cardinals, best offense in the NFL. No, come on. If you've listened to the show, you know that I'm not like that. What it means is Drew Petzing, who's speaking to the media, I think right about now, I wanted to get this podcast out. He's going to have some decisions to make. And I've alluded to this throughout the offseason. I alluded to it in the last podcast where we're tempering expectations while being excited. Is this going to be a situation where they're going to have their scripted plays, they're going to have their checkouts, and then it's going to kind of be, look at what the defense gives you, and Kyler, you got 3 plays, call the right one? Or is this going to be what it was last year, where even though every single person in the building, especially before Kyler Murray came back, knew they were going to run the ball, they ran the ball anyway? Is it going to be more of a rigid offense where it's like, okay, it's going to be 55-45 running, 60-40 running, and that's going to be the identity of this team, and that's going to be how the Cardinals play defense while on offense, by just milking clock, moving the ball down the field, getting first downs, eating every second of the play clock, and allowing those training wheels for the defense that's behind the curve talent-wise as opposed to the offense. Is that what it's going to be? Or are we going to be looking at Kyler Murray some games throwing the ball 40 times, because the stout defense of the opposing team is making the Cardinals throw the ball? And I know a lot of this is, well, obviously that's what offenses do. That's what they do anyways. That's what an offense is. Obviously, you're playing against defenses that are going to have certain sets and certain base defenses you're going to have to adjust. What I mean is, we don't know the identity of this offense yet. And that's okay. This is pretty brand new. I still think that they're going to be a run-first offense. Run, play, action, run the same exact offense as last year, but they're going to have some more wiggle room on the outside for wide receivers to make plays, obviously. This has quickly become one of the deepest wide receiver rooms in the NFL. Some of it unproven, the majority of it unproven, and I'm even including Greg Dortch in that. Greg Dortch has never had expectations. He's never had people, game planning for him. No. He's always got wide open spaces. Everybody was looking at every other receiver because every other receiver was more important than Greg Dortch in the offense, at least on paper, up until that point in the season. Simple. But we don't know what this offense is going to look like, because it's not that there are mouths to feed. It's like, oh no, got to keep everybody happy. No. It's more, what's the calling card? What's the definition of this offense going to be? And I think pretty significantly, it's going to be James Conner. It's going to be Trey Benson or Amari DeMarcado or whoever it is that's going to be able to back up James Conner. And it's going to be play action. It's going to be Trey McBride. Then it's going to be the receivers. Having said that, because I'm not Clanstradamus and I don't know what's going to happen in the 2024 season, framing this segment around, we don't know what this offense is going to be. We know it's going to be high-powered in some capacity, whether that's smash mouth or, hucking it all over the field with Kyler Murray. We do know that it's going to be potentially the best offense we've seen from the Arizona Cardinals, definitely since 2015. But you could be looking at really fun conversations if the Cardinals are a top 10 offense this year, because top 10 offense this year is a hell of a lot different than it was 25 years ago. You could be talking, maybe not this year, maybe next year, maybe the next handful of years, as the best offense we've ever seen from the Arizona Cardinals. It starts with week one. It starts with camp. It starts with everything. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying that the ceiling is non-existent. And the floor is so much higher than even in 2021, where it was just kind of every ball bounced the Cardinals' way. They've got the right elixirs in the right place with the right shaman. I don't know who uses elixirs. With the right play caller. Play callers don't use elixirs either, but I may as well say play caller. And Drew Petzing. Kyler Murray really coming into his own as a leader and as an NFL quarterback. And yeah, sometimes it takes longer. And the right talent in place to watch an absolute offensive explosion, regardless of opponent, in 2024. And that is wildly exciting. What are the realistic expectations for the defense? Top 20? Top 25? Higher? Worse? Somewhere in the middle? This is the biggest mystery going into 2024. And it's still wildly exciting to discuss, as is everything surrounding the Arizona Cardinals. And with that next, Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals, your team, every single day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, man. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Do you want to get in on, who's going to win NFL MVP? You want to put some cheese on Kyler Murray? Long shot? At this point, you want to bet who's going to win the NBA championship, the NFC West, the AFC East, whatever it is? Go to FanDuel. Okay? Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So while the offense is going to be the star child, not like David Bowie. Is that star child? Is that star child? I'm not that old. The defense is going to be the one, the magnifying glass under it, and it for very different reasons. So I stated last week, I think it was the Friday show, that the Arizona Cardinals defense this year is what the Arizona Cardinals offense was last year. It's, what do we got? Very much so. Because Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson. I will touch on tomorrow, first segment, something Monty Ossenfort said about contracts, how it's going to be quote-unquote case-by-case basis. That was, I don't know if he slipped up. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but that made me think something very, very interesting that goes against what my thoughts on what this team should be doing for the future. That'll be first segment tomorrow. But you got Budda Baker, you got Jalen Thompson. You've got Kazir White, you've got Sean Murphy-Bunting. Okay. You've got veterans, but few. That's less than half. Then you have, Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols, who are going to be rotational pieces on the interior of the defensive line. And then you got a bunch of young guys who were drafted highly, a bunch of young guys who were touted most as, as gems that Monty Ossenfort found in the later rounds. We'll see about Xavier Thomas, pass rusher out of Clemson, had a lot of injuries in college. We'll see about Isaiah Adams, who's in rotation with John Gaines, playing left guard. John Gaines is starting to show out, starting to come fully back from his injury that happened before last season started. But you've got Darius Robinson, you got BJ Ojulari, you got Max Melton, you got Elijah Jones, you got Dadrian Taylor-Demerson, got a bunch of young guys playing in very, very important positions. I'll throw Zaven Collins in there because we have no idea. But the expectations, realistically, for this defense probably isn't very good. And that's not to say it won't be in the future. That's not to say it won't be towards the second half of this season. But if you look at the Cardinals' calendar and their schedule, Bills, Rams, Lions. They got the Packers in week 6. They got the Chargers on Monday Night Football. They got Miami the week after. This is not going to be a forgiving schedule for a young defense. And sure, every NFL season is tough. I get it all, okay? Let's not split hairs here like that. But the realistic expectations going into 2024, not great. And I think that's fair. This is all part of this process. Max Melton, listen, CB1 is up for grabs. Edge rusher 1 is up for grabs. There's plenty of guys, Garrett Williams, Max Melton, Sean Murphy-Bunting. We'll see if he can emerge after having a not-so-great year in Tennessee last year on a one-off. Elijah Jones, Starling Thomas, who's made waves in camp. There's a bunch of guys for a couple spots. And barring any sort of injury and barring any sort of anything like that, which obviously you never wish upon anybody, we're going to find out, I think, pretty quickly, within the first 8 weeks, who the guys are. Who the game isn't too fast for. Cornerback's the toughest position to play in football, in my opinion. We'll see if Zaven Collins and Dennis Gardeck and Darius Robinson and BJ Ojulari can formulate some sort of pass rush that was non-existent for the second half of last season. The second half, there was no sack. If this defense is 26 or lower, it's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season. And I don't think that that's unrealistic in the sense that it could be such a bad first half that even if they play well, once they start to get their, their legs under them, especially the younger guys, the first and second year guys, it could still be that bad. The expectation is future pacing. And I'm sorry. Every day, you heard me say that all year last year. This is all future pacing stuff. There's no expectations. We have no idea what the hell this is, which was the collection of talent or lack thereof that wore Arizona Cardinals uniforms last year. Obviously, it's better on offense this year. It's much better on defense this year. We still don't know what the hell it is on defense. We have no idea. Most of the most important snaps this year will be played by somebody who either wasn't on the roster last year, is a rookie, which would obviously coincide with that, or is somebody who's emerging out of nowhere, like a Zaven Collins, if he becomes, the leading pass rusher, depending on where they put him on the line or standing up, and he has double-digit sacks this year, which would be the craziest of all of them, it seems at this point. Or is Adrian Taylor-Demerson going to take over for Budda Baker, and you'll be like, love you, next? I think that would be the most far-fetched, even though he's ready to rock out of Tech. I mean, there's everything. All the measurables and all of the written word on these rookies they're going to be ready to rock. They're going to hit hard, but I feel like, listen, when you go up against the teams they're playing right away through the first half of the season, we're going to find out. You're going to see how much of a jump it comes from college to the NFL, and especially guys in the cornerback room. Like, this isn't doom and gloom. This is part of the process. This is why I'm very, very bullish on if the Cardinals win 7 games this year, that's a massive win. That means the defense was top 25, which I know isn't, you're not getting a ribbon for that, okay? They finished 24th in a total defense. Like, okay, that's bad, right? You know that, right? That's bottom half. If the Cardinals win 7 games, that's a 75% increase from each of the last 2 seasons. The defense is going to be what's holding this team back this year. And that's okay. That's part of the process. And then you look at all of their capital next year, draft capital and under the cap where they'll have over $90 million to spend. They can go out and get the best pass rusher or 2. They can get they can sign whoever they want next year. Because remember, while this is happening, while the Cardinals in camp are starting to show what the new product looks like, that is the Arizona Cardinals organization, every single free agent, pending free agent, ready to be free agent in 2025 is watching. That's one thing the Arizona Cardinals organization has never had, ever. Like, never. A lure from all of the free agents. Like, I want to go play there. Let's see if the money works. Never. So while impending free agents, especially on the defensive side of the ball, are playing for their team this year, they're watching. All these players are smart, man. They just see massive, massive holes in a Cardinals defense that needs veteran talent, plug and play with the money that comes along with it. Monty Osborne's not an overspend kind of guy. Warm weather, Kyler Murray, that offense, Jonathan Gannon, Nick Rowlis. Maybe I will take a little bit less to go play there. And that's how perpetual relevancy begins. It's always through the draft first, and then it's players who want to come play for more than just a paycheck. But this year is step 1 for the defense specifically because the offense has taken that jump. Now, while there's a bunch of question marks, and these young guys could very well be ready to rock right away, you take the history on this, it's going to take a while. If you told me the Cardinals give up 30 points a game in 2024, it's like, yeah, okay. I think that there's a better chance of them giving up 28 plus points a game in 2024 than them being top 15 defense. It's just, and that, I'm looking at just by experience, not my experience, the experience of the players who haven't stepped foot on an NFL field yet. A lot of them are going to be playing in incredibly key positions. And you hope it's not the case. I'm just kind of prudent on my, playoffs. Well, what about the defense? Offense is good. Playoffs. Come on. Let's be a little bit more grounded about this. I will tell you what, though. Regardless of what the defense looks like, regardless of what the talent is right now, as directly correlated to who's played snaps in an NFL game up until this point, Nick Rawls and Jonathan Gannon are going to have one of the most incredibly intricate yet free-flowing defensive schemes out of any team in the NFL. They're going to maximize everybody. You could see 4 DBs, 5 DBs, 6 DBs on the field at one time, 7. Putting him a linebacker, putting him whatever. All bets are off for what the definition of this defense is going to be because they have wildly talented players, and they're going to maximize that talent in an effort to get 11 guys on the field to keep the opposing team from scoring. And that's defense. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. We ready to bury this thought that Kyler Murray's not the guy and that Kyler Murray's not a leader and that Kyler Murray, isn't QB1. Can we talk about it? Finally. I just want to bury this. I don't have to talk about it anymore. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by the Game Time app. Now, Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball, which means getting tickets faster and easier is what they do. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down as it gets closer to the game. First pitch is ready. You're 15 minutes before the game. Tickets going to be cheaper than what they were 2 hours before that. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices viewed from your seat and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. And with Game Time, say you only sit usually behind home plate, or you love to sit down the left field line or the right field line, and you want to sit in the outfield. You're like, hey, maybe I can catch a home run ball today. And you're like, well, I don't know. I hope the seats are good because before I spend my hard-earned money, I want to make sure that, the vantage point is good. Game Time allows that for you. You go, you click on the row and section you want to sit in. It shows you the vantage point before you buy the tickets. You're like, oh, that's what I'm going to be looking at. Yep, buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. A lot of fun stuff coming out of camp, man. Kyler to Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler to Zay Jones, Kyler to Greg Dortch, Kyler to Trey McBride, Kyler to Michael Wilson. It's going to be fun. Defense is going to struggle, at least right out the gate. And if they don't, Jonathan Gannon's going to win Coach of the Year. The really fun part, just a little nuance of this before I get to Kyler Murray specifically. The really fun part about having a roster like this is anybody can win an award. Marvin Harrison Jr., Offensive Rookie of the Year. Kyler Murray, MVP. They don't have a Defensive Player of the Year. But coaches. Jonathan Gannon could 100% win Coach of the Year if the Cardinals win 10 games this year. Executive of the Year, Monty Ossenfort. Those things matter. And it's for, again, sustained success and not Steve Keim's one-and-done success. And it was just every season was a different team. It all starts with Kyler Murray, though. Doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but it matters less that the defense is a year away. And again, it's the natural progression of things. That is not a knock on this defense. It's not. It's just the Cardinals' offense last year is what the Cardinals' defense is this year. We don't know what it is yet. We don't know where the leaders are. On the field, sure, you got Kazir White, you got Budda Baker. I get that, okay? Sean Murphy-Bunting is going to be invaluable for that cornerback room because, all the guys are very young. We just don't know what it is yet. What we do know is Kyler Murray, during the entirety of his career as an NFL quarterback with the Arizona Cardinals, since being drafted number 1 overall in 2019, has made up for holes in the defense, holes in the offense, holes in the coaching, holes in the play calling, holes in everything. He's made up for things. through his exemplary play. He hasn't been great all the time. He's made massive mistakes. He's made dumb mistakes. He's made boneheaded mistakes through the pick six against the Rams in the playoffs, which he'll never live down, I guess. And he was the quarterback for the team that started 7-0 and 10-2 and were removed unceremoniously from the playoffs in a very, very weak fashion. Yes, all of those things are true. And everything Kyler Murray has done since tearing his ACL in the 2022 season was change. Get better. Get stronger. Mentally, physically, emotionally, as a leader, as a public figure. And, I discussed this. You'll never hear me talk about players' social media accounts and stuff. Like, it's cool. I follow Kyler Murray. I don't follow anybody else. Twitter, I follow a couple guys. But, like, what Kyler Murray did, because he was a different guy, because he wasn't as market-facing, he wasn't as social, was he cranked up his social media. And he gave people an introspection into his life, which I feel like expedited the process exponentially in this day and age to get people to get to know who he is. Everything he's done has been so calculated since tearing his ACL, and it's been incredible. And then you get to camp this year, which is the first full year. He's got a bunch of new young talent that he's going to be throwing the ball to or handing the ball off to or who are going to be blocking for him. And he's been the rock that this team needs on the field and off the field. It's always been Budda Baker's the leader. James Conner, I talked a lot about being the leader on the field last year when Kyler Murray was out. I feel like this is the first year where Kyler Murray, the new version of Kyler Murray, the mature, the grown-up, the tutored properly and mentored properly by the new head coach, coordinators, and GM, he is ready to take that. Burden's not the right word. Take that, and challenge isn't the right word either. Just to take that role as the leader of this organization. I never thought that I would say that before. But everything he's done has amounted to people trusting him to lead this team. I think that's the right way to put it. And that is very difficult to do at any point, especially going into, his 27th year on this planet and his 6th year in the NFL. While he's always going to have haters, he's not tall enough. He doesn't have, whatever it is. He doesn't, like, people will always talk about the homework clause and all that stuff. Like, there's plenty of stuff on anybody. Okay. Unless you're Patrick Mahomes. What Kyler Murray has done the right things to become the quarterback that the Arizona Cardinals need to lead them into this next chapter. And the byproduct of that, he didn't do this to do that. The byproduct of that is that all the haters, it's a little bit tougher to hate Kyler Murray now. We'll see what happens in 2024. If he regresses or something, we're going to have a different conversation. I just don't see that happening. I feel like once an NFL quarterback gets to this point, it doesn't go backwards. Either gets better or stays the same. And I'll tell you what. Look around the NFL with all the bad quarterback play that's been happening. I feel like people still don't appreciate how good Kyler Murray is. We haven't seen it, in like a true sense since the start of the 2022 season, where I think it was week 2 where he had that ridiculous comeback against the Raiders. Week 2 or week 3? Week 2. We had that ridiculous comeback that he spearheaded in the second half. And then Byron Murphy walked it off with the scoop and score on the Hunter Renfrow fumble in overtime. We haven't seen it start fresh since then. We're going to see it this year. It's going to be the toughest schedule he's played against and the Cardinals have played against, with a defense that's a year away, a bunch of young guys in key positions on offense, the best offensive line he's had since coming into the NFL, and a head coach and an offensive coordinator who are behind him 100%. This is the year where Kyler Murray really, really could ingrain himself as a top 10 quarterback, and people won't question it again. Just needs to happen. We just need to see it. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens in 2024. Monty Osborne said something wildly interesting yesterday. I will discuss that. Or he said that on Friday. Tomorrow, I will lead off the show. What does case by case mean when it comes to contracts? I'll discuss that tomorrow morning. Locked on Cardinals. Thank you for making Locked on Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked on NFL Scouting podcast. The draft dudes, Joe Marino and Kyle Krabs, take you inside the front office, making you a smarter NFL fan every single day. Stay up to date on training camp and positional battles as the season draws near. Locked on NFL Scouting is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.